Margaret sat quietly by the window, her hands folded tightly in her lap. The afternoon sun cast long shadows across the living room, but inside her heart, it felt cold and heavy. She had always believed that love could fix anything, especially when it came to her only son, Daniel. When Daniel was a little boy, he used to run into her arms after school, smiling, laughing, full of life. She remembered his tiny hands holding hers, his voice calling, "Mom, I love you." Those memories were like precious treasures now, because the man he had become felt like a stranger. Lately, Daniel had changed. He was angry all the time. Small things would set him off, an overcooked meal, a misplaced item, even silence. Margaret tried to understand. She told herself he was stressed, that life had been hard on him. But deep down, she knew something was terribly wrong. That evening, as she prepared dinner, her hands trembled slightly. She could hear Daniel's footsteps outside the house, heavy, impatient. Her heart began to race. She whispered a small prayer under her breath. The door slammed open. "Why is dinner not ready yet?" Daniel shouted, throwing his keys onto the table. "It's almost done, dear," Margaret replied softly, trying to keep her voice calm. But her calmness only seemed to make him angrier. He stepped closer, his face tense, eyes filled with frustration. "You always say that," he snapped. Before she could say anything more, his hand struck the table loudly, making her flinch. Then, in a moment that shattered her heart, he pushed her roughly aside. Margaret stumbled, holding onto the counter to keep from falling. Tears filled her eyes, not just from the pain, but from the disbelief. This was her son, the child she had raised, loved, and protected. "Daniel," she whispered, her voice breaking. "What happened to you?" For a brief second, something flickered in his eyes. Guilt, maybe. But it disappeared just as quickly, replaced by anger again. He turned away, grabbing a plate without another word. Margaret slowly sat down in a chair, her body aching, but her heart hurting even more. She wasn't just afraid of his actions, she was afraid of losing him completely. That night, she couldn't sleep. She lay awake, staring at the ceiling, thinking about where things had gone wrong. She blamed herself, wondering if she had failed him somehow. But deep inside, she also knew something important. Love should never come with fear. The next morning, Margaret made a quiet decision. She would not stay silent anymore. She would seek help, not just for herself, but for Daniel too. Because the son she loved was still somewhere inside that angry man, and she refused to give up on him. As she looked at his childhood photo on the wall, tears rolled down her cheeks. But this time, they carried a small spark of hope. "Please come back to me, my son," she whispered.